Hey grade 7s, welcome to your Wednesday math. So in our last lesson we were talking about different nets of shapes and how to kind of recognize nets of shapes. So we're going to continue to do that today. So today we are learning mainly about the differences between a prism and pyramid again, but also how to recognize individual shapes with those kinds of nets. So for example, if I have a hexagon-based pyramid, what would that net look like? Well, we know it's a pyramid, so pyramid means it has lots of triangles. So if I was trying to figure out which net creates a hexagon-based pyramid, I can draw a couple examples, and we have to figure out which one is that. So I have this one, I have this one as well. And here are my two nets. So between these two nets, which one would create a pyramid? Well, we know pyramids have to have lots of triangles. So between these two, this is the only one that has triangles. And if I were to fold it up, all those triangles meet together at a point so that when I have the pyramid built, it would look something kind of like this, where I have a hexagon at the bottom and then all those triangles meet together at a point. This one right here would create a prism because a prism has two identical shapes on each side. So it would have a hexagon on each side, whoops. And it has a bunch of rectangles going from one side to the other to connect the two different sides. So that's our main differences, is pyramids will have lots of different triangles, and a prism will have a bunch of different rectangles. So we're looking at how to recognize those different nets. Which one belongs to which shape? So what if I was looking at, what if I was comparing two different prisms? Or two different pyramids? So let's try comparing a cube versus a rectangular prism. So a cube, we know the net usually looks something like this. It has 6 different squares. A prism, a rectangular prism, would look something like this, where it has 6 shapes, has 6 rectangles, except this time that there's rectangles involved rather than only squares. So that's one way we can tell them apart. Another is, what about a triangular prism? Triangular prism is made up of only triangles, so it could look something like this. Or a triangular pyramid. A triangular prism would look something like this. It would have one triangle on each side and a bunch of rectangles, whereas a pyramid would just be made up of only triangles. So that's what we're going to be trying to do today, is you are going to be trying to match up the 3D shapes to their nets. So let's do a couple examples. Let's do a pentagonal prism, or a pentagon prism. What would that net look like? Well, if it's a prism, I know it has to have 2 pentagons. So it has to have 1 and 2. And I know that these are all rectangles that go around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rectangles, because there's 5 sides to the pentagon. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As you'll notice, a lot of our prisms follow the same pattern, where you have the two shapes that are the end shapes of that prism at the ends, and then it's just a bunch of rectangles in the middle. What if I had a pentagon-based pyramid? Oh, I'm not going to be able to draw this very well. This is a pentagon-based pyramid. How would that net look like? Well, we know for pyramids, usually it's the shape in the middle, and then it's a bunch of triangles going out from each side. So there we go. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is trying to match up shapes to their prisms, or shapes to their nets. So there's going to be a bunch of different examples. There's going to be a bunch of pyramids and a bunch of prisms. But that's the main key factor, is that a prism will have two identical shapes on each side, whether that is a pentagon or a hexagon or rectangulars. Prisms and cubes are a little bit special in that regard. But for any other shapes, it has the two shapes, whereas a pyramid has its base shape at the bottom and then triangles kind of jutting out usually. And that's pretty much it. So you're going to have a shape or a sheet where you basically just match the names to the net. So you have to kind of look at the names. You have to kind of remember your 2D shapes. So usually for pyramids, it'll be the shape-based pyramid. So it'll be like a hexagon-based pyramid, an octagon-based pyramid, a triangular-based pyramid, and things like that. Prisms will be a hexagonal prism, a heptagonal prism, an octagonal prism. So that's kind of how the names will relate, and then you try to match that shape image to the net. So you have to pay attention to what the shapes look like in order to properly match them. So I see a common mistake is sometimes with people who have like a pentagon versus a hexagon, they'll sometimes get those prisms or pyramids mixed up because they are shapes that look similar, except this one has 5 sides and this one has 6. So when you have your nets and you see the shapes in a 2D form like this, make sure you count the number of sides so you can match them properly. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Make sure you're emailing me if you have any questions whatsoever, and I will see you guys on Friday.